everyone. Welcome to Biplob World. Today we are going to talk about a very close to heart initiative that Biplob World has just started. It's called Buzz for Local. The panel discussion that we are going to have today is going to be to try and understand what Buzz for Local is. Buzz for Local is an initiative where we are going to try and emphasize and try to do our bit for the planet and the environment. Also supporting local farmers while doing the same. Let's understand from our esteemed guest today what Buzz for Local means to them. Today we have with us Ms. Munira Dattani, who is the co-founder of Tickle Ride Private Limited and an early childhood educationalist. Our second panelist for today is Ms. Tanya Khoopchandani Vatsa. Tanya is an author, a content creator, and someone I inspire a lot to be a very hands-on mom. She's going to bring to us a lot of first-hand knowledge about being a mom and someone who's trying to create an environmentally conscious child. Our third panelist for today is Abhishek Talwar, founder, environmentalist, and author of The Adventures of Biplob the Bumblebee. Adventures of Biplob the Bumblebee is on its volume 6 right now, and all the books of this particular author are about environment. Of course, at Biplob World, we know what the books are all about, but we are going to hear a lot more from Mr. Abhishek Talwar as we go into the discussion. Okay, so Munira, I'm going to start with you first.
Sure.
Do you want to give us a little introduction about what Tickle Ride is before we go on to talking about what the environment is?
Most certainly. I'll tell you what people think when we talk about Tickle Ride. They feel, yeah, it's another after-school program. But when my husband and I started this company and this program 7.5 years back, all we had was this little vision where we wanted to have a very specialized lifelong skill building program for the children. So if you today ask me in one line, I would say Tickle Ride is all about building fundamental lifelong skills in these children, because we truly believe that every child is a genius and all you have to do is tap that potential. So Tickle Ride is a program which is going to help parents and children channelize that energy.
Amazing. Now I should come to the question, since we are talking about channelizing energies.
Most certainly.
What is your take or Tickle Ride's take on environment and Buzz for Local?
I think it is such a prime and fundamental topic that you guys have picked up, and I think it's absolutely commendable, Abhishek. I think it's the need of the hour, because more and more we know that our environment needs all the care that we can give it if we want to raise a new happy generation, leaving a better world for our children, right? So Buzz for Local, this topic is so close to my heart, because if we can create this awareness in the children from now, you can only imagine where it is going to take us, right? I think it is of prime importance. I'm all for vocal for local, Buzz for Local, because a very small spark that you create in a child's mind will blossom into unimaginable impacts. You cannot even imagine, as we go further in.
Absolutely.
I'd like to give in some examples as well that I have seen firsthand, and that helped me get an insight as to how children think and what a deep impact we can create, especially as educators.
Yeah. Before I come to you, Tanya, Abhishek, I want you to explain to the audience what is Buzz for Local.
So I think I must have explained this at least 20 times, and I'm happy to do it 200 times more. It's a simple initiative where we're saying that, like Munira very rightly said, if we don't take care of our environment, no one else will. For the simple reason that we need to take this thinking one step ahead. We are a part of the environment. So when we say that we'll care for the environment, we're actually saying that we're caring for ourselves. And it's only when this thinking is imbibed in every one of us that we can truly make a difference. Now, Buzz for Local is a simple initiative where we're saying, how can we make a difference in our small individual ways without making any drastic lifestyle changes or without causing too much pain to our own comfort levels. So all the way saying that we need to do here is procure only locally grown fruits and vegetables because they have a far lower carbon footprint than imported fruits and vegetables. So Buzz for Local in one line is an initiative where we're requesting, exhorting and trying to convince everyone to only consume locally grown fruits and vegetables. And as part of this whole communication that we're putting out, we're creating a lot of content pieces where we're I won't use the word educating, but I'd say informing people or empowering them with the knowledge that the locally grown fruits and vegetables have at least the same nutrient value, if not more than what you would get from, say, a fancy exotic imported vegetable or fruit. Simply put, that's what Buzz for Local is.
Tanya, now I'll come to you. I'm still absorbing the entire concept, but give me your take as a mum. How tough or easy is this concept to put it in our children? How do we integrate it in their systems?
So I actually think that kids are a lot better at getting concepts than we are, because we are always so overwhelmed and overburdened with the multitude of things that we're dealing with that something like this would slip through the cracks. But if I tell my son, for example, you have to recycle the plastic bottles, and that's something we do at home, he is vigilant about it. Every time there's a little bit left in his bottle, he'll remind the staff, he'll remind me, this goes in the recycle, mama, where will you send it? So I just feel Buzz for Local is a great concept, and it's something that once you teach the kids, they'll be reminding us to enforce. I know my son's always asking me what fruits and vegetables are there, where I've got it from. They love going grocery shopping. So it's something that would be easy for them to keep tabs on, even more than it would be for us.
Now that we are on this, I think you'll be the first person that I want an answer on this aspect, since you have spent a lot of your time abroad. We all try to raise global citizens. While trying to raise a global citizen, here we are trying to explain them a concept of Buzz for Local. Are we confusing their minds? Do you think so or not?
So I actually have a unique predicament where I have one child who was born in America and one who was in India, and I've tried very hard not to have that affect anything in terms of upbringing. I never tell Rian, oh you're American, or tell Kiara, oh you're Indian. They both know that they're Indian, they live here, they have to care for the environment here, and this is the country that they are being brought up in. So I feel in spite of whatever background that I have or even that my kids have, it's really important for them to know to care for the local culture of where they live. So that, you can be a global citizen, you can be exposed to whatever you are online or even travel and be there, but when you're in your country, you need to look at what's best for your country and what's best for the environment that you're living in. So I feel Buzz for Local comes right down to that. It's where we're living and what we need to take care of so that the kids have a more sustainable future.
Right. I think that's a beautiful thought. Munira, would you like to add to that? Since you deal with children on an everyday basis,
Yes.
do you think it's a clash point at any given time to try to, where we are trying to expose them to a global culture and then trying to teach them of the concept of eat local, you don't need to see what
I get it. I get what you're saying. Had you asked me this question 6 years back, my answer would have been much, much different. And I'd be like, no, you know what? Even I see it in parents where they want them to eat like a pizza and pasta. And that's the norm. But lately, I really see that shift in perspective from the parent's point of view. And when the parent perspective changes, you see that right in the diet of your child. So most of the times, it's my general, warm-up question for every Tickle Right class. So if I'd ever asked Kiki that, hey, what did you eat for lunch today? It will almost always be a local meal. It's always a idli dosa for Kiara, or for my other child, it's going to be a dal rice, or it's going to be a sabzi and roti. So I really see that shift in perspective. And look, kids are very impressionable. They're like little monkey see, monkey do. If they see their parents eat that kind of food day and night again, they're going to eat that sort of meals. So I think most of the children that we have dealt with, and we see a lot of children on daily basis, we almost always find that no, it's really the local food that parents and children both gravitate to. Look, kids don't know much about the health aspects behind it. They will just be like, oh, Muni auntie, this was yummy for us. So they find real joy in eating our local traditional food. And I think that brings me a lot of joy, every single day when I ask children this. Of course, they'll eat their pasta or pizza or French fries, but it's a novelty.
Right.
It's not on the daily. So I think everybody is as parents and as children, at some point cognizant that these are our roots and this is what is normal for us and this is what is good for us.
Abhishek, I'm going to come to you on this. Munira pointed out one thing. The children end up doing what the parents teach them. Do you want to add something to that? So is that where Buzz for Local came from, where you're trying to teach your children?
So there's a couple of reactions that I'd have to what's been said here. One is, see, what we tend to miss out on is and this is something very important that Tanya brought out, and Munira in her own way, where you spoke about the fact that once a child catches on or latches onto a concept, it's something that the child is typically, if it makes sense to them, to her or to him, then they become evangelists for that particular cause, so to speak. That's one. And like Munira said, as monkey sees, as monkey does. I think that's the term.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do. So that's the term that you use. And I think these are very important statements. But I'd like to kind of just take a step back and look at this from a wider perspective. Eventually, it all boils down to aspiration. Yeah, we're today probably living at an age where the largest percentage of global population comprises of the middle class. And the middle class historically has been extremely aspirational. Estimates suggest that going forward in the next couple of decades, Southeast Asia is going to have 60% of the world's middle class. That's consumerism on, what do you call that, on high performance steroids for you. Okay, so in that scenario, it's very important how do we manage the aspirations of our children. Because a pizza, a burger is aspirational. And if you ask me, if a child wants to have a pizza or a burger every day, so long as it doesn't have health impacts, go for it.
Why not?
My point is, so long as every ingredient that's gone into making that pizza or burger has been grown locally, I don't have an issue with that. Okay, but what you guys said is absolutely brilliant. Like Munira speaking as an early educationist who's exposed to or who has access to, let's say, the at least a surface level understanding of the lifestyle of a lot of homes through the children that you are connected with. If you're coming back and saying that, hey, these kids are today having an idli or a dal, a dal rice, that actually is indicative of what we are probably thinking and doing as a society. And to my mind, that's brilliant, because there are these gems in our local cuisine which provide the complete nutritional value that we need, which somewhere along the way I think we lost it in the last couple of decades, and we're rediscovering that now. So to kind of clarify, are we saying in Buzz for Local don't have a pasta? Like Munira said, we're not saying that. We're saying please have that pasta, so long as the dough that has been used to make the pasta has been made from wheat that's been growing locally. Please have all the pasta that you want. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
I'm sorry, and not even getting into that. Hey, is pasta better, or is dal rice better, or is idli better?
Yeah,
I think that's a decision that an individual parent should take. What they want their child to consume. I have my very strong thoughts on that and views on that, but that's my view, and I don't want to impose that on anyone. I want to make this as easy as possible for people to follow. That saying that, hey, listen, Buzz for Local is all about buying local fruits and vegetables. Even if you want that iceberg lettuce, so long as it's grown on a local farm, go for it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
And having said this, you just brought up the point of eat the local produce. There are so many homegrown brands that have come in today who are doing a fantastic job with using the local produce and creating the pastas and the pizzas.
Absolutely.
That the options are there. It's not like they're not there. You just have to have the mindset to try to pick that.
Totally.
Which is what Buzz for Local is trying to
just
do.
One more point. You never know what's going to be cool next. So I'll just narrate this little fun anecdote. I was returning from a place from I think Borivali with a couple of friends, and someone said I'm hungry, and we just he said I want to have a vada pav. So we stopped at this roadside stall, and he saw something and he was super excited and said, no, let's go and have this. This is amazing. And I'm like, what is this? So there were these little balls of dough which were being roasted on an open coal fire, and he'd served it with some dal and with some bangan ka bharta and litti chokha. So it was new for me. It's something which I'd never seen.
Bombay?
This was in Bombay.
Very rare, because being a Bihari specialty.
Very rare. So this person who was there with us, he was from Allahabad, and he said, "Ye hamara UP ka speciality hai." So I guess that conversation we can take up on another time. Ke Bihar ka hai ya UP ka hai. But it tasted absolutely brilliant. It was delicious. It was filling, and it was when I looked at what's actually gone into making it, it's packed with nutrients. So I quickly told that guy, listen, give me one as a parcel. I just took it back home and told my kids that this is something new, try it. And they loved it.
Yeah.
And that was to me an eye-opener. I'm like, imagine if this becomes aspirational, like a burger or a pizza, a cool thing to have.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant.
And that's exactly what my next point was. Is this a good learning ground? Do you think Buzz for Local is a learning ground for a child? Where you're teaching him a lot more about where you come from?
Absolutely. I feel kids pick up, like I said, on every little thing. My daughter, for example, every Monday she's obsessed with Tickle Ride, and she knows her first question is going to be about her meal. Yeah. And then Munira will ask her, Kiara, but did you have any vegetables this week, or what will you have for dinner? Will you have something healthy? And Monday we have a standard menu for the week. Monday is always dal chawal. Dosa and idli for lunch.
Right.
So it's usually a vegetable or like an egg or something for dinner, so they get their protein as well.
Yeah.
And so, but she's learned. She's like, okay, that's my protein, and so she'll ask me, Mama, does cheese have protein in it? Mama, does paneer have protein in it? So they pick up so easily. It's a great way to teach them.
Any views on that?
So see, absolutely, and I feel more so over when it comes to educators, like kids take it so seriously. Sometimes things that may not get through by parents, your kids will always come back to your teachers and be like, with Kiara, she'll be like, Muni auntie is going to ask me what vegetable, I better get in that vegetable, right? So I think it can be a great learning ground. It's again all about that channelizing.
Yeah.
It's all about making fun. As long as you have created that little spark, it can really go a long way. It can really go a long way. I'd love to give an example over here. Because we are on the topic of sustainability, I'd like to take it one step forward. The whole reason why Buzz for Local works so well is because at the end of the day, we are trying to combat global warming in one way or the other. And at Tickle Ride, we are always involving topics which make sense in the bigger picture, right? It's a fundamental environmental studies. So when we spoke about global warming, I told this child that look what we are doing with the plastic and how I wish we could, make better amends. That child, I had so much to learn for her. It was almost amazing. She had her 6th birthday party coming up and she said that, Monu, you know what? I'm not going to have any balloons, no plastic decor. Wow. She went to the mandir, all the flowers that people had put in there, they had offered. She got all those flowers back and she had a very natural arrangement.
Wow.
And she went one step forward. She said, why not even share this with my friends? So my return gift's going to be a little plant. It was a sustainable plant, a little mirchi, pudina or a lemon plant that she gave each and every friend. They said they could have something back that they are growing.
And this is a 6-year-old who's come up with...
This is a 6-year-old.
This is astonishing. And it's so heartwarming to hear that something like this is
so
coming from a child.
I'll never forget. Before coming for this talk, this is all I could think about is look, it created a bigger impact on me, I think, than it did on her.
It does.
And I'm like, look at these kids. It inspired, it had a ripple effect. Look, when you create that spark in a child's mind, the parents were so impressed. They said, Miss Munira, I think I'm going to start my sustainable cookware brand on this because I think it is really the need of the hour, and my child is so amazed by how we can do fun things and at the same time save our environment.
It is, and then the pressure that comes from these kids is not funny.
Yeah,
it's
while when you spoke about the sustainable cookware brand, I remember Aditya son coming to me yesterday and something he saw somewhere online. He's like, look at these are sustainable earthenware water bottles. Let's replace all the bottles at home with this. And I'm like, acha, pata nahi kitna kharcha karayega. But he's like driven. He's like, I counted, we've got 16 or 18 bottles.
Correct.
And we can replace all of these with these earthenware bottles, and you don't even need to refrigerate this because the earthenware keeps the water cool. So the electricity cost will also come down. So he's done his
research.
But then the point is, like you guys were saying, that your child can become that evangelist who's actually driving the change. It's just a question of sparking it off, like Munira was saying.
Right. Now that we all are on this topic, do you think, and I'll start with you here, Tanya, do you think that the only way, everyone in this room here is somewhere working with children and trying to create a better tomorrow with children. Do you think the only way to create a better tomorrow is by educating the children or by creating the awareness in them?
So many things. One is definitely creating the awareness in them, which I feel is twofold. It's not just the parents, it's also the educators, it's also the school that has to cover it. My son's school, for example, puts a lot of emphasis on on environmental studies. It's a huge part of their curriculum. So I feel as long as the school's doing the part, it's supplementing what we're telling them at home. But kids learn the most from what we do.
Yeah.
So if you're actually using a plastic bag and then you're telling them not to, they're not going to listen to what you're saying. They're going to be empowered and be impacted by what you're doing. So I think the biggest way to actually make a change is by changing things in the household and physically putting that into place. Then they'll learn. They're not just going to learn by being told what to do, for sure.
Yeah. Munira, does Tickle Right believe in the same too?
Absolutely, and I think not only Tickle Right, every educational out there and every citizen, a global citizen, responsible one, should have this thinking that, look, this is the generation which is really going to make that difference, because I feel now we are at a point on an environmental level where we're at that tipping point. Yeah. Now it either goes here or either goes there. Yeah. And the only way we can do this is by educating, creating awareness in our children, and most importantly, as Tanya said, that it's not only us making them aware, we need to lead by example. Only when we lead by example is when these kids really, match up our energies. Otherwise, it's hypocritical, at the end of the day. So as Tickle Right, we try to incorporate environmental topics in each and every way. Like kids love music, so we did this little pollution song, and the kids would never forget a pollution song because music is such a great way to really connect with the children. So I'm always telling parents that if you ever feel that you want to teach them a concept, be it environmental or something else, music would be a great help. So we really try to use these techniques. Could be music, could be through art and craft, and most importantly, by doing.
Right.
So we'd love to take them on little drives or even little presents. If we ever have to give them presents, we'd give them simple presents like colored pencils, but then the sustainable ones which you can plant them, they have seeds inside and they'll grow. So they'll be like, okay, this is amazing, rather than giving something which is probably plastic or which is just going to be add on to this consumerism waste, you know.
That is.
Abhishek, you have spent a lot of time of your life now writing books and trying to create a better tomorrow through children, and have bombarded it again and again, trying to do it all the time, where you can teach the children that, okay, you are the ones who are going to be able to change tomorrow.
Thanks for making me sound like a fanatic, but please.
But what would you like to bring to the table in this particular thing, that as an attempt to create a better tomorrow, have you somewhere dedicated a lot of part of your life trying to educate children about doing that?
So, Nidhi, like I've said in the past, for me it started off, for Ritika and I, it started off where whatever we were doing was really to inform and empower our own kids with this information and kind of prod them in the right direction rather than, force them to do something. And then at some point snowballed to our friends' kids and then the books, and today it's become a movement where we want, every child anywhere in the world to learn how it's important to love nature and respect the environment, because we are a part of it, and do whatever it takes to get us back, get the world back in balance.
Right.
And for me, I've learned from trial and error. Music, like you said, Munira, is a great way to do it. Like Tanya said, setting an example, because they can see through hypocrisy way better than we can. So that's a great way to do it. Another great tool that I've found is stories.
Yes.
Because anything that is communicated through a nice, crisp story with dollops of humor and emotion and adventure in them is something that kids don't forget. So that's another powerful tool, and that's what I've tried to do through the Adventures of Biplob the Bumblebee stories. In terms of how important is this for us, Munira, you mentioned we're at the tipping point. I don't know, somewhere I feel we crossed the tipping point maybe a couple of decades back. Early part of the millennium is when we were at the tipping point, now we're past it. I think now it's really an uphill struggle for us to try and pull back as much as we can. And for instance, a couple of days back, there is a global body of Met, the worldwide weather Met departments across, this is a network of Met stations that monitors temperatures across the globe at different, what they like to call different delicate areas across the globe. 20th June or 21st June 2021, they recorded a temperature, and trust me, I'm not making this up, of 38 degrees Celsius, 75 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. Okay. The Arctic Circle is where temperatures go to below minus 40.
Yes.
38 degrees Celsius. That's like the summer temperature in Mumbai, and this is 75 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. So it's not like, oh, it's high time we do something about it. If we don't do something about it, the world as we know it will not exist 15, 20 years from now. And what is abysmal is the level of denial that a lot of us as adults still have about it. Kids are way more sensitized.
Yes.
They can very clearly see that there is something drastically wrong with the way we are doing things. But as adults, I think we've got this ostrich mentality where refusing to.
Abhishek, sorry, I'll butt in. Don't you think it is also about how we've been brought up and trying to undo what we've been doing for years versus kids, where we can still teach them, okay, this is the way of life.
Exactly. So Nidhi, it's not like this information is new.
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, we crossed the tipping point 20 years back, but we didn't discover it 2 years back. We discovered it 40 years back that we will cross the tipping point in 20 years. We chose to do nothing about it. Okay. And when I'm saying we, I'm talking about humanity as a whole. We deliberately chose to do nothing about it. But anyway, I don't want to hijack the discussion and take it somewhere else, because let's stay
I know
with
you're
what.
very passionate about.
Let's stay with what
this
Buzz for
topic.
Local is. All I'm trying to
Yes.
say is that this is not something that we're doing that, hey, this is nice to do, it'll sound so cool if we promote Buzz for Local. No, it is a crisis. Yeah, and it's a war that we're very close to losing. But it's still not hopeless. Let's do everything it takes. Buzz for Local is just one small step in the right direction. And then, like I keep saying, it's a very painless step. How does it matter if your apple is grown in Himachal and not in New Zealand? Really, how much of a difference does it make to our lives?
Right.
Very little.
Absolutely. Tanya, taking this a little further, you're a mum with the Indian Education Board. Both your children are with the traditional Indian Education Board, right? Do you think environment studies are given its due in the Indian Education Board?
I actually think, looking at what my son is learning in school, it's become a huge part of the curriculum, finally. I mean, the only 3 subjects they're doing right now is Math, English, Hindi and EVS. And they spend at least, and this is like with their limited 8 to 1 PM school, they spend at least 4 hours on it every week. Plus, I know every Thursday and Friday we're going to get EVS homework, which requires a lot of research. Last weekend we were looking at we had to actually map the sunrise and the sunset every day. So they're spending a lot of time on it, which is surprising to see, because it's a huge change from when I was in the Indian Education Board.
Exactly.
So does that leave an impression on their minds? Do you
For
think so?
sure. In fact, the whole project, Rian had to do an entire project a few months ago on endangered animals, and he had to present it to the entire school, and it was a really big thing for them, and they spent months working on this, and it was just, they had to pick their own topic, and so his was endangered animals, and he researched specific animals, and they're spending a lot of time on it, and they know which parts of the country have tigers, for example, or like the bottlenose dolphin, and why they're endangered, and so they learned all these concepts, and he's only 7, which is really great to hear him talk about deforestation, for example, or poaching, or overpopulation in certain areas.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Even would like to add to this, like especially a topic like animals, as she said, children are so passionate about it, and they will definitely remember that when we read about endangered animals, we feel bad about it for a bit, and then we kind of compartmentalize, and it's forgotten. It's not the same for our children. When they come and see that, okay, Muni auntie, the Bengal tiger is like, even for Kiki, she knows about the endangered animals, they'll think about it, they'll ponder, and every time they see that particular animal, they will relate back to it, and they will be like, okay, what more can we do to save the animals?
Does Tickle Right have any kind of a module on environment studies?
So not only, so we got to understand that this is not only like a very temporary thing that we particularly have modules, it is very closely and widely integrated into the program. Not only for, say, children who are above 4 and 5 years of age, even the very youngest children of 16 months, like starting with taking care of your plants and what are we going to eat today, or let's make a simple sandwich, to starting from the very basics to at whatever level the kids are going to understand, it starts from there and then you take it forward.
Munira, does Tickle Right lay any kind of emphasis or have a module on environment studies?
Most certainly, not only a module, but all kind of environmental causes are so integrated into the curriculum, because as we all know that this is really the need of the hour, and more so even everybody feels that it's these kind of topics, it's best left for little older children, maybe somewhere around 3 and 4, but I'd like to disagree. I think this sort of awareness can be started much younger, and that's why we started at around 16 months of age. That's when we start the program for all our children, and I feel we need to give them more credit, because children are so cognizant about their environment, what's happening around them, and even empathetic, that even little topics that you may explain them in a very layman terms really makes a connect with them. So we try to do it, as I said, all through music, through stories, through showing them what are the efforts that we are taking towards environmental causes, and that's when they truly have that aha moment that, oh, you can do this, and they'll always show up. As I like to say, they'll always match up with that energy.
Amazing,
you know, so
amazing.
yes,
that's
integrated
lovely to hear, like
everywhere.
16 months, and you can actually talk about these important
You'd
issues
be
with them.
amazed. You'd be amazed.
Wow.
In fact, you can start reading to your children much younger, and because you have these lovely books, sometimes parents with very young children worry, and they'll be like, hey, but these kind of books look kind of hard, you know, like how much do my children understand?
Yeah.
I always tell them that, look, initially when you start reading these kind of books, even to your youngest children, kids who are as young as 6 months or 1 year of age, they'll initially listen to the tone and the inflections of your voice. But the more you read to them such kind of books, or even other elaborate books that you may think are elaborate for us, but not really for the children, they'll start making sense of them much sooner. Comprehension kicks in much sooner. Yes, so
Absolutely.
you can do it for really young children. It can, I know it amazes us as parents and as adults, but it's amazing. We've seen it time and again over the years.
Wow. Abhishek, now that Biplob, Adventures of Biplob the Bumblebee is on its volume 6, have you incorporated this initiative in your new launch, the Buzz for Local? Does it have any kind of a platform with volume 6?
So, the Buzz for Local, like we've already spoken about, is all about consuming local fruits and vegetables, and it is a theme which is subliminally an underlying message in all of the Biplob stories, because it's a story of a bee who lives on a garden on a farm, and excuse me, everything that's happening is happening within that local environment. So it's kind of implicit within that. Like Munira mentioned, you know, that's the whole thrust on education today, and even Tanya mentioned about her son's school where they got EVS as part of the curriculum. The message that I'm getting is that sustainability is what the message is what the overriding theme of all of this communication is about, and that's what we're trying to do through the Biplob books, because sustainability is a pretty vast subject. How do you demystify it for children? Like, you know, you spoke about your son did a project on endangered animals. You spoke about how kids are so empathetic towards animals. The whole idea is, if all of these techniques, and some of them are adaptive techniques, some of them are mitigation techniques that can be done to tackle climate change, you know, what are sustainable development goals, what is sustainable technology or other development that we can do, they all sound very confusing. The fact of the matter is, we love confusing acronyms. The reality is that these are some pretty simple things which we can do, and that's what these the storybooks kind of bring out over there. Yeah,
I'm very
about simplifying all
inquisitive
of
now
it.
that we are on this topic. I'm very inquisitive. Why a bee? Why is your eco warrior superhero a bee and not a human?
So I'm very tempted to say that it's like a very well thought through and researched decision, and we did a lot of focus groups. Then we also got MIT to conduct a study on what animal it should be. None of that happened. I just thought a bee would be cool, and so Biplob. But while that idea was there, before actually implementing it, I studied up, read up a little on it, and I was astounded to discover that the most important creature by far
In our ecosystem.
is the humble bee. And I was like, seriously? But that's the reality, and that was the reason why a bee and no other creature, because it kind of symbolizes how crucial this particular phase of our world is, and how it is very important, because what we do today is very clearly going to, and it's very starkly going to define where we are as early as 2 or 3 years from now. It's not even a decade away, it's not a century away, it's happening now. It started happening a long time back, it's catching up with us now.
Wow. Takes a lot of time to absorb after you're done talking about the environment. Tanya, I would like to come to you on this particular topic. Some tips for mums out there on how to integrate this in their systems every day. Is it reading books? Is it tickle ride? What other ways do you do for you to integrate it into their systems, the environmental studies?
So I actually, both of those, my kids do tickle ride and they know every Biplob book by heart. So definitely.
You're well positioned actually.
Yeah. And that too. So definitely, I mean, I would strongly recommend tickle ride. Kiara is obsessed with Munira, but not just that. And they know every Biplob book. They use the workbooks. They do the coloring books as well. But I think the biggest way to teach them is to do. And to actually, so we recycle our plastics. For a while we weren't able to, because through COVID the source we were sending it to shut down, and we still collected every piece of plastic that was used in the house. We stored it literally in a duct and had it sent out finally when we could. So that's something that we're very, very particular about at home, is making sure that we put into action the things that they're taught. I sit with the kids very often and discuss the environment as well. We talk about global warming, we talk about the ice caps melting, and these are things, like Abhishek said, the kids will actually pick on to, and they'll come back. Even Munira was talking about this, they'll ask you questions like 2 days later, saying, Mama, you said this that day, and what does it mean if this happens? And they'll ask you something that seems absurd, but they've actually really been thinking about it. So the most important thing is actually to put into action the things that you're preaching.
That's a lot of content to absorb over there. But I'm going to come to closing statements from all of y'all with your respective platforms. Munira, you tell me, how do you intend to pledge Buzz for Local, or this particular initiative? How do you think would be your way of putting it into the system?
So look, I feel there are no big gestures that one big gesture which makes a difference, but it's these small things that you do on the daily. So I'll give you an example, because I'm an educator and I know that I can really impact so many lives. I'll just tell you out of example what I've been doing. So now recently I tell each and every child of mine, I have this one glass, and I tell them for everyday brushing, only use 1 glass of water.
Nice.
Yes. And then one more thing is, because through the program we do a lot about coming very close to Buzz for Vocal. We talk about this song called Multicultural Feast. So through music we go like, okay, now you have to give me one cultural delicacy from your house, which I'm going to try, and you'll try one of my delicacy. So Kiki is always telling me that hey, so she'll tell me Sindhi curry, Muni auntie will try Sindhi curry, and another, hey, I'm going to feed you biryani. So simple things like these come back to our local roots, and the kids are trying different foods, but it's still very local, very regional. So these are the little things. One of my child actually got me to try, they said that, Muni, I tried a natural toothbrush, and I'm like, what do you mean, what's a natural toothbrush? They said, miswak, I got it from my village, and I had never tried miswak till I bought it one day, and I'm like, wow, this is a 4-year-old game changer teaching me this, right? So these little things, I feel it's a lot of give and take, so much so that I'm teaching the children, these kids are teaching me right back. So for me right now, it's been these small acts every single day, which is going to be different for different children, but that one small act as to how you can save your planet. And I think that's been the highlight for me, especially these COVID years. that's when we really started taking a step back and thinking about all the things that really matter.
Yeah, I'm
So-
going to do a silent clap for that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Abhishek, I'm going to come to you for the same question. Buzz for Local is now an initiative that you have taken up. After everything that you've done with Biplob the Bumblebee and trying to do environment, you're taking it a step ahead with Buzz for Local. How do you intend to take this home?
So, Nidhi, I view us at Biplob World as like Tanya very importantly mentioned, as the people who need to very clearly set an example by acting on it. So, and that's something that we obviously do. Secondly, I believe that we're a platform or we're a medium through which we need to amplify this message. And it's very heartwarming when I see, accomplished professionals like, let's say, Munira or even like Tanya, who are very happy and wanting to come and be a part of this platform. Because that is very important. Yeah. Unless and until more influencers in society like Munira and Tanya don't come forward and speak about it, it's not something which is going to go out as strongly as we'd want it to get out there. As far as we're concerned, we've already put out a couple of videos which explain what Buzz for Local is for kids. Secondly, there's a whole series of content that I'm putting out that is demystifying climate change for children. These are little 4-5 minute videos that explain different concepts to them and make it very simple, cut away from the jargon, make it relatable for them to understand, and give examples on how we can make difference in our own individual lives to counter the impact of what's happening. What we're also doing going forward now is we've already met up with a couple of vegetable and fruit sellers, just randomly walked in with our handheld camera in the market and interacted with those guys to understand things from their perspective, because at the end of the day, they are at the cutting edge of the sword. They're the guys who are actually having to procure the material and sell it to us. And it's amazing the kind of perspectives we've got from them. It's very nice for us to sit in these rooms and come up with you know what, we should only consume local. What about the guy who's actually selling that material? Where is he getting it from? Why is he selling you this and not that? So some great insights that he shared, and I think that should be an eye-opener for a lot of us as consumers. Going forward, we intend to go to a lot more markets and do this. We also intend to go and speak with a lot of producers. So, farmers, traders, people who are dealing in organic food, a lot of it. We want to complete this entire story and make a very strong case as to why Buzz for Local is the only way to go if we are to make a difference, amongst other things, of course. But for now, this is what it is.
Amen to that. Tanya, what would be your closing statement too?
So I actually want to say I'm not someone who's very involved in the kitchen, but I do know where the shopping is done and where the produce comes from, and that's something that I think every parent should be involved in, and not just that, get your kids involved in it as well. Take them shopping, have them help pick the fruits and vegetables, tell them that okay, this is exotic, these berries are not from here, or this avocado is from here, and have them learn, and so that they eventually also make choices that will support the environment, will support our local communities, and also Buzz for Local.
Amazing.
That is some amazing, amazing thoughts over there. And I pledge Buzz for Local year on. I'm sure we all do. And the next time you go to the market and pick up that apple, please remember, pick up the Manali or the Himachal apple rather than the Washington apple. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching this. We are very grateful to all the panelists who've come here today and been a part of this and tried to create a change for the environment. Thank you so much for watching this. Stay tuned. We have a lot more on Buzz for Local coming up. And please remember, this is not just for you to see, and we are not trying to endorse any brand, any product here. We are essentially trying to endorse a thought process that please think about your environment, which Biplob World has stood for the last 6-7 years now. Thank you so much.